Have you ever been in an organization where you felt ignored, you're overworked, it was overwhelming, and there wasn't really a clear structure and system for you to get through things?
If you keep flip-flopping all the time, even in larger businesses, then there's no focus. And if everything's important, nothing's important, same with clients. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, you'll be nothing to nobody.
When I first started this business, I, self-sabotaged, I was confusing, I'd had these new ideas, and I wouldn't stick at one thing long enough.
The challenge is, this is why the visionary integrator role is really, really important. And I think no matter what the size of the business, because you don't need to have a full-time integrator, but you need to have somebody who's actually taking the genius and picking out the real genius before it gets to everybody else on the shop floor.
This is a podcast talking about what actually works in business, the difference between knowledge and wisdom. So we're here with none other than TikTok extraordinaire Debra. People are running up to your street and hugging you.
No, nightclubs in Bali, actually.
Jesus, yeah.
I know. How about that? You would never pick that, would you?
Were you with Richard Conway? Everyone was in Bali, these EO people.
Yeah, I don't know if I was with Richard. I was with EO Melbourne, yeah.
Do they? Yeah, what is that? So many people I've met, and we didn't plan to talk like this, and I have no plan to talk like this, but
excellent, go for it.
I've met a lot of EO people.
Yes.
And it seems to be pretty good.
It is.
Yeah,
you
why
sound surprised.
Well, I don't want to be stuck with someone I didn't pick.
What do you mean somebody didn't pick?
Well, because they put you in these groups and shit, eh? Or
yeah, but you get interviewed first, so it's kind of like a job interview. You go in there, and there are usually already existing people in a forum, and they're going to go, hey, do you think Ryan would fit in? And you have this little bit of an interview session, and you decide whether or not you think it's going to work out.
Huh.
I've got 5 really good friends that were my forum in EO right in the beginning, and they are like brothers.
Can you fire yourself from groups to go to other groups?
Absolutely, you can. In fact, I caught up with one of my girlfriends who's actually in EO at the moment, and she has literally switched groups a couple of times. Because there is a theory that, hey, getting really, really close and getting that 5% you never talk about with anybody else is really good. But also, sometimes you just outgrow your group. Or, you wouldn't say outgrow, that's not fair.
Little plebs. Stay in your box.
No, but you actually need different perspectives, right? See, there's a limit to how much you can get. I was going to liken it to relationships, but I'm going to be a bit careful there because I'm married. But, there's a limit to,
When's the upgrade happening? Was it?
Don't
Imagine we clip that out. Yeah. It's out of context, Jesus.
Thank goodness Steve does not listen to podcasts, so we're fine. No, but I do think there was a time and a place, and yes, you get really, really close to them. You can still have that closeness, but get more from being part of another group. Yeah,
because it's always interesting, because I've spoke to a lot of business owners now, and you sort of see the limitations of their mindset or their skills. And you almost need something beyond your environment to go beyond your mind in a weird way.
Yeah. So if you think about it, we always say you need a coach, you need a peer group, and you need a system. And so the peer group is EO. So that is the people who you can talk to in a really, really safe environment. So they are experiencing similar things to you. They've got nobody they can talk to because they can't talk to their wife, their partner, their girlfriend, their husband. Yeah, they can't talk to their employees because they're at a different level to the employees. So it's your safe space. It's your peers that you can actually go, hey, you know what? And it isn't just about business. I don't know if you know, but they talk about all kinds of things in there. We talk about the 5% you never reach with anybody else. So we used to talk about things like, not being able to sleep, not having a great sex life, business, being shit or having people issues. So it's a mixture of business and personal that affects you as a whole human being.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because I've learned over the years not to work with people, not to work with friends or family because I'm obsessive. And I'll just...
No way.
Yeah, me? No way. It's not like I talk every moment of fucking... So, and then I come home and hang out with my mates and they're like, they don't give a fuck. They don't want to know. And I'm like, that's good, but it also hurts. Why? So, well, you want to come home and you're like, hey, I did this thing and validate me.
Okay.
Well, we actually have agreement. I'm like, okay, I need validation. I'm like, look at this thing. And they're like...
Yay!
Yeah.
And so EO goes deeper than that, though. So you're actually being able to share those things, and you can't. You've got to share from experience. So it actually gets down to, in my experience, this is what happened, as opposed to giving you advice, because that's the one thing you don't really need. Is you don't need advice. You need other people's experience, because we're going to make our own decision anyway. It's just giving you some more data points, I suppose, to make that decision.
It's almost like the whole game. I was talking to Ian Blakely, chairman of Family Business New Zealand. Is that
Family
the name?
Business Association New Zealand, yep.
See, we need detail-orientated people all day of the week. I don't even fucking know.
So there's another amazing peer group, right?
Yeah.
So I sponsor FBA.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I do. And that's because I really believe in the power of peer groups. So they also have forum type things for you to sit with your other family business owners, which of course family businesses are quite unique in terms of the additional challenges they face. And so you're in a room with other people who've been there, done that, or are going through it right now. And you have a chance to share stuff you can't share with anybody else. You can't talk to your family about how much you're struggling with the way they're handling things, or the fact that your mum and dad don't want to sell the business for the price that you want to buy it for, or, so you actually have the chance to have a peer discussion.
Yeah, he was actually talking about the forums, and I was like, how do you actually create a space? You actually came up. I was like, yeah, Debra does her stuffed animal thing. Probably not the best. He's like, great.
How to really give me credibility. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm good at selling you, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, he was like, we create this space and help people come together. I was like, oh, Debra does that. She creates, and they have like this integrator or someone, basically kind of like a counselor, but
it's
business.
It's a forum moderator usually. So it's somebody who is a business advisor, an accredited family business advisor like I am, that will actually go in there and just help them with those conversations. And we play a bit of the role of a therapist, a bit of a role of a moderator, a facilitator, all those things, just to make sure that we don't go off on tangents and people don't start, throwing around advice. Because there's nothing worse than hearing, you should, you ought to. It's like, well, here's a classic example. When we were going to Bali for EO, so it was the EO conference, I said to Steve, why don't you come with me? We've got all the accommodation paid for. It's going to be a great conference. EO always do things like top notch. You can't believe how they run these things. And he's like, well, I don't like Bali. And I went, oh, when did you go to Bali? Well, I haven't been to Bali. So how do you know you don't like Bali? I just don't think I would like it. It's like, okay, so you've got no experience and yet you're giving an opinion on it. So that's what we can't have. You've got to have people who've actually been there, done that, can actually share the experience rather than just what they think of it.
Yeah, no, that's
By the way, Steve loved Bali.
Yeah? He went?
He went, yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
He had a great time and he came back raving about it. So it's like, you got to be careful. Sometimes we have these ideas about what should be done, what shouldn't be done, what ought to be done. Better that you actually learn from people who've done it themselves.
Well, even in the content space, Alex Hormozi, he says a lot of the mistake people make in content is saying you should instead of how I. Yeah. Which you forget, it's like you're sitting in front of a humans consuming your content, and all of a sudden you get this bravado, like, you need to clean your room.
It's exactly like that. It's like your parents telling you to do something, or if you're like me, anybody telling me to do anything. Please don't tell me what I should do, because I will absolutely go dead set against it.
Okay.
So a Gestalt methodology, I think they use it in FBA, they use it in EO. It basically says you can only speak from experience. So if somebody says, I've got an issue with XYZ member of staff, or with systems and process, whatever it might be, you have to go, okay, you have to think to a time when you've actually gone through that, and then you share it in a way where you go, in my experience, when we had this issue or a similar issue, this is what we did and this were the results that we got. And then people are using that to go, okay. And you'll get, in a forum, you'll have 5 to 8 people who will give you different experiences. And there might be some commonality and there may not be.
Yeah.
And then what that does is you get to think and go, okay, now that I know all these different sort of things people have tried, what's the right answer for me?
There is risk in that. I like, we use in the men's support group that I go to. I haven't been in a long time, actually.
So in the men's support group you used to go to, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
This thing I remember.
Yeah.
They use how I statements. How you can't speak for others, and it also smokes out excuses. So where someone says, I don't want to share because I feel like I'm imposing on your time, and then the men will stand up and be like, we're our men, we can make our own decisions. Do you not respect us enough to walk out if we're not happy? Right. And then you're like, you're fucked. You got to share your thing. No excuses left.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, I like it. I think peer groups are just invaluable, no matter what they are.
Well, I was learning that, there's a period, I wasn't meeting too many people. I wasn't seeing sunlight or people.
You weren't seeing sunlight?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I just wake up.
Are you a vampire?
Yeah, I'm a vampire. Yeah. That's why I got the garlic breath, it's all coming out. I would wake up early, work until the night, and come home, and then people would be asleep because I'm up.
Right.
And I thought I was doing all my stuff through content. This was a few years back. Yeah. And I wasn't meeting human beings. And it's like, one, the rate of innovation, how much you learn, how you feel. I feel like, so they also say in longevity, you can smash that too, by the way, it doesn't matter. Okay. Everyone always says that slow.
I know, really slow. It's I don't know if it's going to make a noise on the microphone. Yeah.
It might, who cares? Fuck the listeners. They're my listeners. No, just kidding. Yeah, and social integration and longevity was huge. Like, and we don't often think about the benefit of just having genuine connections with people. There's always this veneer, this mask.
Bravado.
Yeah. Speaking of connections, love and business. See that beautiful segue.
That was terrible.
I'm talented.
You should keep that up.
Now I'm going places. Well, we talked off air how you talked about, loving what you do.
Yes.
And I don't know.
And I don't mean, I want to talk about love in business, and I'm really passionate about that. But I don't mean love as in like all fluffy stuff and wow, it's all going to be a bed of roses and everything's beautiful. And I also don't mean follow your passion. I don't think you have to follow your passion to love what you do in business. But you should be looking at every single day and going, am I jumping out of bed desperate to get into work? Do I love what I do when I'm at work? And there are ways and means of changing that if you don't. But for fuck's sake, don't go to work day in, day out doing a job that you don't love.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's like the average experience of me looking out and being just judgmental fuck.
Yep.
I see these people coping with their life and then medicating it with the weekend, dreading Monday and starting again, rinse and repeat and then die.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And sometimes we die really early, so you don't even get anything outside of that, which is really sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's inspiring. It's beautiful. What would you?
That's what I mean. Honestly, it came home to me the last 5 years. I've lost all of my family, right? And all of them really were too young. My brother was 44, my mum was 72, my dad was 78. None of those are ages where we should be dying. And I think with my parents particularly, they kind of waited until they were retired. When they retired, they were going to do this. When they retired, they were going to do that. And then they were retired and only for a heartbeat, and then everything was kind of over. And mum was sick, so they couldn't travel. So there's a lot of things they didn't... they were really good. When they were younger, they did a lot as well. But in between, it all became about having the job, coming home from work, looking after the kids, blah, 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 blah. And I know Dad didn't really enjoy... I actually enjoyed some of his work. I know the stuff Mum used to do she didn't enjoy. It's like, well, why? Yeah.
That is good. Why do you
And
think...
I'm really happy my brother actually was doing what he really loved before he passed away, because he hated his job and he quit it. And he went and he became a house husband, and he looked after my niece, Holly, and he drove her around, and he played golf when he wasn't driving her around, and he was finally doing what he actually loved. So if nothing else, he might have been young, but at least he died doing what he loved.
Jesus. Fuck, this has been an ominous podcast. Really. It's
not. But
I was crying.
Isn't it a great wake-up call, though? Because if you think about it, it's like, actually... there's a thing about not working too many hours, not getting exhausted and overwhelmed. But I think if you're doing what you love, you don't necessarily get to that space. And also, just change what you're doing. It doesn't mean walk out of your job, but but think about the things that you love doing and try to find more of that stuff to do. As a business owner, as an employee, I don't care. Just do something that you love.
What do you think? Like, I often find it's a fear. A fear of failure, fear of judgment. What would you...
Fear of letting go. If you think about most business owners, it's like, why would you do... This is a classic one.
Oh, go on.
Why would you...
You tell them. You tell them, Deb.
Why would you do some of the really, really boring batshit stuff? Like, even in a large business, I've got large businesses whose business owners are still getting involved in some of the boringest batshit stuff. Why?
Boring batshit. Yeah.
Because if you don't enjoy it, there'll be somebody who loves it. I always think about accounting. I do understand accounting. I have to. I chair boards and things. So I get it, but it's not something that I love, and so there's no way. Why would you do any of that stuff when there's somebody who genuinely loves accounting, who loves sitting in front of reconciliations and analysing
Sickos.
numbers and coming up with patterns and things. I want somebody to give me a report and go, here's the numbers and here's the insight, and now as a business owner I get to decide what to do with it. But too many businesses don't let go. They just don't want to do that.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm going to push a button. I still haven't found a better way to do this. It cuts off at 30 minutes, and
Does it?
Yeah, and I said to Sean, the guy that edits this videos, people listening, I started using phones. He's like, nah, but it looks better if you use the thing. And I was like, it makes your editing harder. Because this goes for 30 minutes, and he's got to match all those videos together with the sound, and sometimes the sound doesn't match.
My cameras don't go off after 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's a camcorder. These are DSLRs.
Ah, okay.
That's why I recommended to you, hey, you should get camcorders.
Because they don't turn off.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And you had the worst experience ever. Your patience is remarkable. People don't, I don't know, but you're a client and I didn't do a great job. I tried my best, but
You tried your best, and that's all I ever ask of people. But I also like people to be honest about what's going on.
Okay,
which you were.
Yeah, true.
So that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's have a crack. Fuck it. Anyways, so that's crazy, eh? Like, if you think about how much one businesses aren't doing the most highly leveraged activity, and they're not doing the one they enjoy.
Yep.
Well, is it a fear of relinquishing control, or what leads to them doing the boring as batshit stuff?
So I think when it's in startup phase, so I work with either high growth businesses or established businesses. High growth businesses are growing really, really fast. It is just a case of not letting go and fear of paying somebody to do that and not being able to afford them. And I always argue that you can't afford not to have somebody else do that, because if you think about where you add the most value, it is not in doing the bookkeeping or the accounting or the what else other people. I mean, building your own website. I was talking with a client the other day about this. Like, you don't need to build your own website. First of all, I think we overestimate the power of websites. I mean, people don't give a shit about what's on your website.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a tick box that kind of go, yeah, this is a real person. Okay, cool, we'll deal with them. And so then they spend all this time building this amazing website. It's got to have funnels, got to have this, that, and the other. And they're spending all that time stressing about that and maybe doing it themselves or trying to do it on the cheap, when in actual fact you could probably just pay somebody to do a brochureware website, and it probably would be just as good for you. Get out there and do the stuff where you add real value, which is talking to clients, having conversations, I don't know, becoming a thought leader in your space, whatever it is that sort of floats your boat. But why would you waste time doing that? So that's startup things. With established businesses, I think sometimes it just comes down to they've never taken a cold, hard look at where they're wasting their time. So we always talk about delegate and elevate, right? Which means look at what you really enjoy doing and are really good at. And the stuff that you don't enjoy doing or not so good at, you should definitely just delegate it to somebody else. But if you've always done it, I mean, a classic is social media. I mean, let's face it, how much time gets wasted on social by high-end executives, by business owners, by people in whatever it is. And I think it's just because you've always done it. So it's like, well, but is it really adding value? If you're going to be really honest, you'd look at that and go, that doesn't add any value. Probably doesn't actually give you a huge amount of joy. I can't imagine it does. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's either just always been like that, or they haven't recognised the extra value they could be creating.
It's bizarre. It's like it all makes sense. You know, you see people burn out. They're just doing the wrong thing. Like some guy's doing my strength analysis shit. Josh Cox at something.
Okay.
He helped Better Co.
Yep.
I don't get it. I did it, and he's like, "You got these things," and he's going to go through with it to me tomorrow.
Yes.
And I'm shitting on it right now. Well, I don't know what it is. I don't get these personality things.
I do know. I've done every single personality test under the sun.
Oh, okay.
And I always get more people kind of, oh, I've got a new one you should do. It's like, really, more stuff about myself? I think I know myself pretty well now.
That's true. You probably do. Yeah, you've done a lot. Yeah. Landmark Forum. And all
I've done Landmark. I've done Evolved Leadership. I've done all kinds of things. And I've done, every single test. You've got DISC profiling, extended DISC. You've got Myers-Briggs. You've got the colour code. You've got the Strengths Finder. You've got two different Strengths Finders, Clifton Strengths Finder and the other Strengths Finder. And I've done them. And there's the one where you're a bird or a bird or a peacock. I've got no idea. I've forgotten about it.
Can it be a mower? Can it be a mower?
Can it be a mower? They're dead. They're extinct.
I feel like I'm going extinct. Well, yeah, I think he might be the Clifton one.
Yeah, okay.
And he was one of the strengths is I have a greater capacity for work or something.
Right.
Which seems true.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm actually not knocking profiling tools. Profiling tools are actually good.
You listening, Josh?
No.
He can change my mind if he wants. I don't.
He's going to try and change your mind. Well, good on him. Yeah. I mean, I think that there is merit for them in terms of if you're trying to work together in a team, understanding how other people work can be really good. Even just things like doing the love languages with your partner and understanding what their love language is. It's useful. But it does get sort of taken, I don't know, a little bit too far in my opinion. It's like, how many different tests can you do and what's the point after a while?
So if you're listening,
I
Josh,
know that I'm a dominant influencer and I'm never going to change. So what?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's for people that don't understand people.
Yep. Yeah, maybe.
I get that. Like, hey, let's say I hire a very systemized, orientated manager that's EQ is a bit fucking, fruity. Why they in management might be a question. But then they need a frame. But then also, like, when you reach scale as well, I wonder. Because
that's what I would suggest. So when we do Colby and stuff, it's really about, you lose. If you think in the beginning, there's just you and one other, and then you grow to 3, and then you go to 4, and then you go to 5, and eventually you get to, some of my clients have got 140 staff. You've lost that intimacy that you would have with your team, and you've got little mini teams within teams, and so it's actually, in the beginning, you are hiring everybody. You're getting involved in everybody who is being hired. When you're running a 100-person plus company, you're not getting involved in every person that's hired. So it's like, actually, how do you create understanding in those teams, and you've got to have different personality types, because when you're in a smaller business, you can just keep employing people who are like you, and it makes it really easy because they're all like you and they've all got the same values and all very similar, but you need different people in different roles. So I don't know, it just helps people understand people better if you're not a people person.
Well, yeah, as I say, I'm naive to that size. I've only ever gone to 15, and that's just, I just talk to them, and I talk to them a lot because I just work hard enough to meet all of them all the time.
Yep.
So I know what's going on. But then when you get that degrees of separation, and then I also think of how it filters down. So I used to teach the leaders to lead in the sales part.
Yep.
And you, if you're not the person influencing the values, it sort of filters out. Like, it's not as potent as it gets further down. Like, what is that value? Is that true? Like, or is there, what would you see the mistakes are when they go to that?
So I don't think profile testing has got anything to do with values. So I think values is something that, as a leader of the organisation, no matter what size it is, you are responsible for setting the scene around that and making sure people are actually living by the values, and that can be passed down through systems and processes, believe it or not, to make sure it actually gets built into everything we do to make sure we're living by the values. I think the profile tools are more just in terms of when you get a larger team and they are diverse, and you've got, I remember when I was working at Tower, your
favourite place.
My favourite place.
Shout out if you're listening.
Yeah, love your Tower. Yeah,
their core values of money. Yeah,
their core values were hilarious. But so they, you had. The people in the marketing team were very, very different from the people in the customer service team, very, very different from those in the finance team. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not careful, they become silos. And then we stick within the people that we're comfortable with and that are the same as us. And then you have this siloed approach to business, which isn't going to work. So I think that the personality tests help people to kind of break that down and understand. In fact, talking to the clients the other day that were at their workshop on Friday, they were talking about being given the tools of a visionary box and an integrator box.
You're doing well to say, FYI, there's some fucked up noise I'm not going to edit out, but Debra's on a tear and she's focused.
I'm focused. Visionary and integrator box. So this is a husband and wife team managing 70 odd people. They used to always be at each other's throats because they're very, very different. So Stu is like big picture. We'll just jump off the cliff. We'll build the plane as we're coming down the cliff. Whereas Lisa is more of a details person. But no, we need to make sure the plane's actually going to work and rah, rah, rah. And they used to fight all the time. And they got given these boxes. One's called a visionary, one's called an integrator. And we explain what a role of a visionary is and what likely personality traits they have and what they should do. And then what the integrator is and what they should do. And suddenly they had a name for each other.
Yeah.
So now it wasn't personal. Now it wasn't, I fucking hate my wife because she always makes me do all this stuff that I'm not interested in. It's like, that's right. Lisa is an integrator and an integrator works in that way. So it's like it's the integrator that's at fault, not Lisa. Or Lisa could go, Stu, here he goes again, next bloody big idea, what's going to happen here? And she could go, but that's right, he's a visionary, that's how he talks. That's what I think some of the profiling tools do as well. It's like it just gives you an understanding of, it's not the person that's an issue, because there's some people we just don't like, right, in terms of the way they work.
Sometimes.
But it's just about the way, the personality type they are, and you kind of go, I see, they need facts and figures. That seems really odd to me, but okay, if you need that, let's give it to you.
Yeah, I've actually influence ecology or whatever.
Yes,
the fuck.
Drew, yeah.
I saw him once and there's just 4 boxes and I was like, oh yeah, that's why they shit on my ideas. And I didn't really look at any further than that. And I was like, okay, so I shouldn't bring my idea at this stage.
Yeah.
I need them to find everything wrong with it when it's about to go into execution.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find like that's where I can see profiling being useful. It's like a justification for our mismatching.
Yep, just like the love languages, right? Where we naturally tend towards our own love language. And if you've got a partner who's got a completely different love language, it's really difficult because they actually wanted that. You're giving them that. Even if you just get to understand, I don't think you fundamentally change as a person, but you're suddenly becoming aware of it and going, okay, so I understand that you need me to, touch you because that makes you feel good. Okay, I can kind of live with that.
Yeah. That was a pat on the shoulder, FYI.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What on love though, interesting, because you you have a sense of femininity and love and appreciation for others, and you also have a like don't fuck with me attitude too. So it's an interesting dichotomy. But what has been your lessons, I guess, in love and in relationships and having genuine connections in business as well?
Well, I'm not quite sure what the question was there. That seemed like a whole bunch of questions, but what were you asking, Ryan?
Your lessons in relationships over the years and about yourself and how you've sort of grown to understand your story and how to integrate that with different people's stories. And it's a confusing question.
It is a really confusing question.
I've said three different ones.
You have, and now I'm just
answer
here
something.
going, just answer something. Okay, let's answer something.
There's a sky blue.
I think that through your blinds, it's black. Love and relationships and business. Wow. Okay. I just think that the biggest thing is that we're all just humans. Whether we are the boss of a company, whether we're a worker, whether we're all just human beings, and therefore we have some natural human being tendencies, which we tend to forget when we get into business mode. So, and I'm a classic one for it. You know, the old email that you kind of, type out and sort of send off and then kind of go, I didn't even ask how they were. And it comes.
Hope you're well.
Yeah.
Get fucked, I'll answer it. I'm like, I'm really good. How are you?
But you do. You sort of. I mean, I'm very, from a personality point of view, like you said, I'm pretty blunt. I'm pretty. I'm very focused. I also get a bucket load of stuff done more than anybody else because I'm always just working up what do I do next, how do I do it, and that comes across as being, sometimes really aggressive or sometimes really uncaring. And I don't think fundamentally as a person I'm either of those things. But I'm just in my space and doing what I do, and that. So I think we've got to. The reason I have a photo on my email signature is actually not because I give a shit whether people look at my photo or not. It's to try and remind people they're actually dealing with a human. It's kind of a bit of a softening thing to kind of go, hey, look, and I've also got a funny disclaimer about my typing and stuff because I'm really bad at typing. Oh, yeah. And it's really just that hopefully people kind of go, okay, there's actually a human behind this. So no matter what she says or does, there's a human. And I try to think about it myself as well. It's like, okay, no matter what you say or do, remember you're dealing with a human.
What's the most inhumane email you've received?
Inhumane? I don't know.
Like, where they've just been absolute cunts. Because you're saying that you're reminding them that you're human. I would think that you've had people not be... Or is it because to apologise for your inhumane email? So...
I can't. I mean, the only email I ever remember that wasn't... I've never had any rude emails, I don't think. Oh, yeah. LinkedIn a bit more so. I think the messages you get back from LinkedIn sometimes can be a bit sort of blunt, but then I'm a bit the same. Sometimes you go, really? I dislike, which is really ironic, I dislike it when people kind of... call you up on the phone, send you an email, send you a LinkedIn message, and go straight into wanting to tell you all about what they do. Because I kind of go, hey, you didn't ask me how I was. You didn't actually ask me any questions about myself. And I really struggle with that because it's like you're actually just talking to somebody rather than talking with somebody. Yeah. Yeah. But then I've been guilty, like you said, you've used automatic, getting people on board. I've also had people help me to get more connections, and they've literally put out those messages that I personally may not have got, may not have liked. So it's a tough one, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a really rude email. Yeah. Well, I may have sent a few. Yeah.
I've actually banned myself from texting or... Like, if I can send an audio message, I will.
Well, and I've learned now, I know when I'm triggered, and there's some signs that you can see. So when you find yourself bashing something out on the keyboard, you've kind of got an inkling that's probably not going to be the right thing to send. So what I do now is I still allow myself to completely bash the entire email out, and then I literally put it into drafts and I leave it there for a day. In fact, I did this just the other day. I was really upset with somebody. I was like, and then I went, right, we'll put that in draft. And then the next morning I woke up and I went, I was feeling a bit grumpy yesterday. What did I write? Oh my God, I'm not sending that. Yeah.
Can we make that into a book? Do you have all of them still?
I probably do. Yeah.
Wow, imagine. But take all the names out.
Yeah. But I'm a keyboard warrior, not in the social area, but definitely when it comes to emails. It's fair, and I work with a lot of clients who just love to use email because it's actually really easy, isn't it? At the end of the day, I haven't got to sit in front of you and actually have the tough conversation. And so particularly in corporate environments or in leadership team environments, it's really easy to kind of avoid having those conversations by doing things by email. And people use it, but I had to record what was going on. No, you should have had the conversation in person first, and then you can use the email to back up and record what was said. But don't start a difficult conversation with an email.
Oh, it's tough.
It's the worst thing you can do, right?
Dude, the amount of people are pissed off because I'm just Like it's painful to make words, and I'm making these words while being kind of pissed off at you, or maybe I'm not pissed off at you, and I'm just like time poor. I'm just like, but, and they're like, do you hate me? Are you okay? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to text you anymore. And then I jumble it up. I don't know why. I don't think it could be dyslexia, but I don't know. I just put different words and different letters, and so now I send audio messages.
Yeah.
But then
and so they're a bit
me.
frustrating, to be fair, because I've got, so I don't know if anybody knows Dale Beaumont, Dale Beaumont, who writes Business Blueprint. Love him to pieces, but he always sends voice messages. Now, I am often in meetings with clients and in meetings sort of all day long, and so a voice message I don't get a chance to listen to. Whereas if you send me a text message, or, I mean, not that I ever do this when I'm with clients, of course, but I can scan it, I can see if it's important, I can do something with it. And so,
Never screen their calls, ever. Yeah. Not that. What about being human in business? Sometimes you're just like, I was in a meeting.
Yeah. So it drives me up the wall because, of course, I see this message and it's like, I don't know what he's saying, and I'm going to wait till the end of the day to actually find out what he's saying. So, but I do agree, it definitely softens things if you're sending a voice message.
I might start using like Whisper API from ChatGPT and just be like, transcribe my audio.
Okay.
I wrote a book with my voice.
Did you?
Yeah.
About what?
B2B marketing, strange enough. I'm so good at growing. But I just talked about sales and like how to use podcasting to meet people, because I thought, if I write a book, add value, I don't know, you can get the email, some shit. That was I was thinking. So I read it, published it. I don't know if it's good. But being able to craft just an audio message if you're comfortable with the pause and that being transcribed, because I find I feel a lot of void with ums and ahs and stuff like that.
Yep.
If I don't fear the consequence of what I'm sharing, I don't really say So if I allow the silence to happen, I don't know why I was sharing that.
No, neither do I.
Yeah.
But
Well, see, this is podcasting. I'm the cream de la cream of podcasting.
I know, you're in the top 5%.
Woo! Yeah, anyone listening doesn't mean shit. But
so there are. I suppose the thing is, there are different methods of communication for different things, and difficult conversations don't get had by voice message, text, or email. They get had face to face. And that is because the human element then comes into it. It's really hard to sit here. I mean, I could have, before I came in here, have all these ideas about what was going on with Ryan and how I'm feeling about him. And I could have
got to have it out.
And I could have sent you an email, and it would, it could have completely landed the wrong way. Whereas if I come in here, I suddenly go, oh, look, there's a human, maybe we should be a bit gentle with it. Now, I'm not gentle by any means, but gentler in terms of you're not going to just blast something out that you do on a keyboard.
It may sound like you're going to blast something out. Do you want to blast something out? I feel like I'm thinking if I made promises. I feel like I need to book you podcast guests.
Yes.
Because I said 4 to 8. I don't know how many turned up. Not 4 to 8.
I don't remember, to be honest, Sega. I've already moved past that.
I delivered it. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, if you wanted to blast, welcome to.
No, I was just thinking it's like blast. I mean, I don't know. Nah, I've got nothing to blast. But apart from not being consistent, Ryan, I have this real thing with you about you switch and change with the wind.
Now valid.
Yeah.
Should we do a coaching session? Yeah, God,
no, I just, it frustrates. I see a few people doing that, and it really frustrates me. I mean, I'm not saying you should flog a dead horse, but I do think that it's really difficult for people to know what you do. I mean, and we've talked about this before we came on the podcast. Like, I think everybody knows me in the whole of Auckland, at least anyway, probably the whole of New Zealand. Sometimes it appears in Melbourne in airports, but do they actually know who I am or what I do? And I think I'm not sure they know what I do sometimes, but I think they do know a fair bit about me. I think I'm fairly consistent. I don't think I switch and change like the wind. No.
Well, funnily enough, I've been meeting people I haven't met before.
Yep.
And they only know me from the content.
Right.
And the vibe I'm giving off is massive self-doubt and not sure what he wants to do with his life. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
and you are being consistent then. I'll take it
well,
on
there you go. Yeah, eat your words. No, you're right. Like, it's been a whole journey of me self-sabotaging because of self-worth and trying to find something where I feel comfortable to charge for.
Yep.
And hopefully this is the last change. But I actually went back to our model.
Oh, really?
But did it in a different way, and because I was talking to someone, I don't know if we're just talking about this now. We'll move back to you.
Yeah, that's okay. Go on.
I'm
going to challenge you, but go on.
Go hard. Safe space. So I called this lady randomly, and I was like, she's like, I don't want to come on the podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, well, what's going on with your life? And she's like, that sounded like bad. It's not how I said it. And she's like, this, I'm struggling with acquisition, just brought this business. I was like, well, if you don't fix that, you're fucked. And then I just hung up. But not just like that, but like I got it between the eyes.
Yep.
And then I was just going through Sales Navigator and I saw her face again. So I just called her for no reason.
Yep.
I was like, oh, I just saw your face, so I'd call you. And she said, I was actually thinking about you last night, not in a weird way. Word for word.
That's good to know. Yeah.
and then I met her, and then I was like, what do you need to do? She's like, I need to meet. This is a long story, so hang in there. We're almost done. The never-ending laugh, I call that. The like laugh at the snort. Met her, and I said she wants to meet construction CEOs. And I was like, I can put you in front of them. But I need consoling because I did this for this other person and this is what went wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then one was, like trying to make sure that she sells to the guest and follows up or whatever.
Yep.
And then also the pricing thing I charged, like if someone's paying a retainer and then they're not getting results for say a year, and also the quality of the content that I was editing because it wasn't getting reach from what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've consoled the reach thing on the podcast. I've consoled she's like, yes, I'll meet with every one of them with coffee afterwards. And I was like, I'll meet with you every month so we can be supportive and accountable and I'll help you with like sales and like encouraging you.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, that's actually something that could work.
Yep.
So I went back.
Excellent.
So not allowed to change now.
No. So as a startup, a bit different. I think you've got to actually validate things and test things out. But I see it even in large businesses where they try to be everything to everybody. They try and change based on what their customers say that they want. And often customers don't really know what they want. So they're kind of flip-flopping all over the place. And I just think actually you've got to have, we work in this whole 90-day cycle to have a little bit of consistency. Like give something 90 days. It won't kill you to give something 90 days and then you'll have a really good understanding of whether or not it's actually a good thing or not. But if you keep flip-flopping all the time, even in larger businesses, then there's no focus. And if everything's important, nothing's important. Same with clients. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, you'll be nothing to nobody.
Yeah, even from developing the talent of the people. Like so, Ashan, for a while there, because I was changing so much, he wasn't really focused on anything.
Yep.
And then we started doing stuff like every week. I'm like, well, what's your 80-20 and what's the one thing we want to develop?
Yep.
And then we just put in time on the introduction of a podcast. And it's just insanely better. And the rate of which it's improved has been insane.
Cool.
And then I'm thinking, shit, that's because I've had an inconsistent platform for him to focus and to go directly. I'm like, oh, well, if I had to just focus on one thing, one platform, one avatar, one product, until I got to, $1 million a year and then think about things. But I see that a lot with businesses is they chop and change. They don't do the boring consistently or they're doing the wrong thing within their business or not relinquishing control. And I know all that. And I've been chopping and changing.
So how's that working for you?
Shit, yeah.
Because
really
everything's important, nothing's important.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. So, I think that no matter what the size of business, you've got to give things a little bit of time and you've got to really give them a good go. Like, I get you have to pivot when things aren't working. I get you should do market validation on things. Absolutely, that's my passion. But it shouldn't be too regularly, otherwise people just don't have a clue what it is that you're actually... and we're talking about, with you, we're talking about you as a person and what you're offering. In a business, if a business owner is always flipping, this is a classic for a visionary, right? Got another bright idea, we should go down this route down here. If you keep changing that all the time, the people in your business don't know what they're supposed to be focusing on. And they'll end up working ridiculous hours, running around to do all this stuff that you want to do. And you've already moved on. I'm on to something else now. What do you mean on to something else? Oh, well, that was last week's idea. It's like, I've seen big businesses where the CEO or the founder or the visionary, whatever you want to call it, has literally got a leadership team, a high-level, highly paid leadership team, working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks because the owner themselves is flip-flopping about what they want to do and always has all these great, big, brilliant ideas. Still has the core business, it still makes good money, but these extra ideas, and these people are running around trying to execute on all these ideas. And they get burnt out. They don't understand what's important anymore. They might have a pet project that they actually embrace and want to take on board, but that's not what the company needs to be doing. So it's really important to have focus and consistency, even in 90-day cycles.
Yeah, well, I've been getting that wisdom. So everything you just said is exactly what poor Ashan's been through, working crazy hours randomly for the new idea. Like he worked fucking 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. one day.
Wow. Yeah, that's really mean. You made him do that.
No. Yeah, fuck him. Yeah. No, I said, don't do it. Anything you don't do, I'll do. He's just like fucking, because I guess the thing I do well is caring and wanting the best for him and supporting him regardless. But then the thing is I don't do well is exactly what you just said. Is like an inconsistent thing of what we're doing.
Yep.
That project changing all the time, but then them having to invest a huge amount of hours to deliver on that project.
Yep.
Because we were doing 1 day clips. I don't know if you know that.
I saw that, yeah. Is that still going?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No, yeah, so many things have happened. But basically, we would turn up, no prep, 60 minutes, make their content, deliver it the next day, which would mean I could record till 3.
Yep.
Ashan would deliver the output because he
Overnight.
starts, in India at like 8. But then I did it for 2 people one day, and that's a lot of editing to turn around very quickly. And he stepped up.
Nice for you. Probably not so great for him. Yeah.
No, it's horrific, especially creatives.
Yes.
Give them the freedom to think creatively and not be stressed, and support them, and try and get them to do as little non-creative things as possible. So because he's very good visually, but identifying the best moments in a podcast is something that was completely foreign.
Yep.
So I would do that part because I don't like doing the visual pretty shit. I'll just find the best moments, send it to him. He makes it pretty.
Yep.
So it's quite interesting seeing the wisdom versus the knowledge. Like get it. Like visionary, they fuck up everything, they change all the time, and then you just detailed my exact life.
No, you've just made it sound really terrible. They actually change the world, right? They because of they pushing all the time, they do change the world, and they sometimes have really, really great ideas that should be explored further. The challenge is, this is why the visionary integrator role is really, really important, and I think no matter what the size of the business, because you don't need to have a full-time integrator, but you need to have somebody who's actually taking the genius and picking out the real genius before it gets to everybody else on the shop floor. Because otherwise, and I've seen this with a couple of my clients who run, I've got one client who's got, I think, 280 staff. He is absolutely a visionary, but he's also getting involved in some of the day-to-day stuff. And so if he does that, because he's the boss, because he's the owner, when the boss comes and asks you to do something, you're going to go, absolutely. So, and then you start running around doing it. The best thing they've done is bring an integrator in that kind of, now says, hey, you know what, let me deal with that day-to-day stuff. Let you and I have the conversations and decide where the gold really is, because there might be some real gold in what they're thinking. But we've got to be careful it's not all gold. I mean, I'm a visionary and it's not all gold. There's a lot of shit where you get the gold. For sure. Well, and we thrive on having lots of different ideas. So here's really funny. I'm a brilliant visionary in my own business. I'm a much better integrator for somebody else because I'm really good at actually saying, no, we're not going to go there. We need some systems and some processes and structure. So you actually can be both, but you can't be both in the same business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in my own business, I'm a visionary. In anybody else's business, I'm much better at being an integrator and getting into the detail stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you read these things and they don't make sense until you actually get in it.
Yeah.
Like the Alex Hormozi, he says 1 avatar, 1 product, 1 channel.
Yep. And
I think about, I can cold call, let's just double down on that.
Yep.
I can do podcasting, that's the channel.
Yep.
And I'm good at developing and supporting people to be their true selves.
Yep.
Why the fuck am I doing anything else?
Yep.
And then I think about the integrator side of things. I was like, oh, integrator, what the fuck are they going to do? Like spreadsheets or some shit? And then I think about 100% keep me away from the staff as much as possible while I'm getting my idea on, shall we say.
And the integrators, it's a really challenging role. I quite like it, but it's a really challenging role because you've actually got to challenge the visionary. You've got to keep them at bay and keep them focused on what's important. And then you have to keep the team motivated to continue to do what we need to do. So keep them focused on what's meant to be done, removing their obstacles and barriers. It's actually quite a fun role, but it's also quite a challenging role. You've got to be prepared to have tough conversations. Yeah.
Well, I guess that was the challenging thing for me is I feel like I'm good with people. And I understand and can develop people quite well and recognize talent.
Yep.
But then as soon as I come in with an idea and can influence everything overnight, It's not good. It's really not good.
Yeah.
So
So the thing is, you're in the startup phase and there's not a lot of people that's affecting. As you get bigger, and, a lot of my businesses, I say, are 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 staff, then you're not going to change. Ryan will always be Ryan in his business and he'll always be the visionary. You're going to want to meddle and get involved with that stuff because that's what we do. So even when you've got 280 staff, you're still going to want to put your 2 cents worth in. So that's why having those boxes and going, actually, you're a visionary. This is what you need to do. It's where you add the most value. Go off and do your research and development. Go off and do your, industry knowledge. Go to your conferences. Find all the new flash stuff. Bring it back. Have the conversation with the integrator to understand whether or not it really adds value.
Yeah, because I remember, so you were kind enough to do some free sessions with me, and you're like, yeah, you need to get an integrator at some point. And I'm like, why the fuck do I need an integrator? And now it makes sense. It's like, how do they communicate? What's a framework for them to communicate? Because they're not the same, or maybe they are, but.
No, well, they're not the same. But I mean, if you think about a lot of good marriages are people who are completely opposite in terms of personalities. Look at Steve and I. I mean, could you take every single scale and we're on absolute opposite ends, but we work well together because we have a commonality in terms of our values and in terms, I think, of our kind of long-term vision. Therefore, we can work through the differences. And the vision of the integrator, that's the relationship should be. It should actually be a relationship where you are actually completely diametrically opposed on almost everything because you're meant to complement each other with your strengths and weaknesses. And you've got to be actually quite willing to have really robust conversations. Like you want to actually be challenging each other. The best visionary and integrators, the Walt Disney and his brother, whatever his brother's name was, and the Roy Kroc from McDonald's and his integrator, they were actually completely different personalities, but they were able to have those really robust discussions. And what will happen is a lot of the time the integrator is about facts and figures and numbers and whether this is kind of commercial or and very detail oriented will absolutely drive the visionary up the wall. But every once in a while it lands and they kind of go, oh yeah, you know what, that makes sense. And the same the other way around. The vision will have the world changing ideas along with all the shit ideas that come out as well. But every once in a while the integrator will kind of go, that actually probably has some legs, we should do something with that. So it's a really interesting relationship where you should be challenging each other all the time and then allowing each of you to get on with the bits you're really good at, just like everything in business. Let the person who's really good at it get on with it. Don't interfere.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is there a point where you should hire that or recognize it in your team?
Yeah, I think the sooner the better. I mean, I think that not just talking about EOS, but talking about running business. I mean, running business is my entire life. It's actually recognizing that sometimes you need, even in a small startup business, you need the foundations. And as soon as you can afford to get somebody in to help, it frees you up to do the stuff that you're better at. You've got to. Otherwise, you're just going to be down in the women. It's like building, it's the whole E-Myth revisited, right? It's being a technician and doing everything versus actually building a business where other people can support you to do the stuff that you're really good at.
It also talks to the point of when people first start out, they don't charge enough. Like they might, I think it's good to do it for free so you earn the right to charge. Yep,
absolutely. Or I did a few free EOS clients in the beginning.
There you go.
Just because that way, well, I think from a confidence point of view, it gives you the confidence to do that. But also, anything new, it's worthwhile and not necessarily free. It could be a contra deal. So you could go, actually, well, if I do this for you, what could you do for me?
Yeah.
So some value exchange. Yeah.
Well, and then the other people like, don't start your business uncapitalized, Ryan. That will, that'll be fucked. Like that will be hard because I got a $20,000 personal loan and just been surviving every week instead of thinking long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so I'm you know me, I'm a classic fencer, right? I can see both sides of that.
Cop out. No, go on.
No, I can see both sides. I can argue both sides really, really well.
All right, go on then.
So there's an element, of course, if you have capital and you're able to invest, it can probably allow you to do a whole lot more things more quickly. So in larger businesses, that makes absolute sense. Sometimes it's the fact that you're hungry that will make you go out there and do stuff because you know that every single week you've got to pay your rent, your bills, and so you will do whatever it takes. If you're a prep boy where mummy and daddy have paid you a whole bunch of money, as an example, then maybe you're not quite so desperate to kind of go out there and make it succeed. So there's a real fine line. I think that actually, that you certainly do need, you don't want to be on the bones of your arse all the time because that's exhausting. But at the same time, if you know your model can work, then, knowing what you need to do, and it's on your scorecard, so you're measuring it every single week, then you're going to be out there doing the right things to get that done, and there's a motivation to get that done.
And just you reference scorecards just to help the poor people out there. Not me. I obviously fill it out every day. I love filling out shit.
Yeah.
And being accountable.
How's your leading and lagging indicators going?
Yeah. If you look at it, it's all up to date. Just FYI. So,
excellent.
nah.
Yeah.
But like scorecards, so, one of the things that went viral in your world was, the meeting framework and stuff
Level
like
10
that.
meetings, yeah.
But can you sort of go into like the tactical side of how to, I guess, deliver on what the integrator and what the visionary are trying to do?
Yes, I mean it all comes down to accountability. It comes down to a few things. You've got to be on the same page in terms of where you're headed. So that the vision is really important. So the integrator translates the visionary's bigger vision into something that is palatable for the team to actually work on. And then the traction part is about actually having the stuff that you are measuring the right things. So the scorecard, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like so many businesses measure stuff either because they always have, so therefore they just measure it. No reason why they actually measure it, or they measure what they think they should or ought to. That's going back to our original conversation about don't tell me what they should or ought to. Your scorecard should be something that you actually look at, and you should be able to immediately say if the business is doing well or not. And it's to avoid you putting your head in the sand, because you should be looking at it. And if the numbers are red and you're not hitting it, then what the hell are you doing to actually get out there and get those numbers back up again? Or what if you've got a massive cash flow issue? There's no point in sitting there kind of going, I haven't got any money in the bank, everything's pretty bad. If you're looking at it every single week, you're forced to actually face up to it and go, okay. And I'm not talking about one-man bands. I'm talking about large businesses that have got cash flow issues. If you have got a cash flow issue, and that is, especially if you're like an importer like some of my clients are, if you haven't got the money to import the stuff that you sell, you are in shit, right? So there's no point in sitting there and just kind of going, I'm sure it'll work itself out. It'll all be okay. So your scorecard focuses you on the stuff you need to focus on to go, actually, it is not all okay. And we need to do something different. What do we need to do?
Yeah, that's the thing. I look at the screen once in a while, so this doesn't run out of money, but time. But like we've talked, yeah, that's the thing. Like, so when I first hear about EOS, I was like, oh yeah, simple. What the fuck do I need to read about it? Yeah. And then when you actually unpack the wisdom of it. Yeah,
it's. I mean, we always say EOS is really, really simple. It's not easy. And it is simple because there's nothing in there that is new. I mean, honestly, there's nothing in there that's new. Scorecards, they're called dashboards, they're called KPIs. It doesn't matter what you call them. There's always been measurables around. Having a vision, having a plan, yeah, so what? That's been around for eons. You read the Good to Great, you read Built to Last by Jim Collins, you read the E-Myth Revisited, they'll tell you what you need to do to scale your business. You read Scaling Up, it's got an operating system for doing that. I mean, that's all, and Patrick Lencioni talks about team health. All those things all exist. What it does do is just bring it down into something I like to say. We don't want to stop entrepreneurs being entrepreneurs. We want them to have madcap ideas. We want them to push the boundaries. We want them to stay entrepreneurial. We don't want a tower where you've got levels of hierarchy and red tape and everything to get through it, and silos. I don't think anybody works at these with me, so it's all good. And the silos that that you create by having all these different departments. You don't want any of that. So the system is just designed to allow entrepreneurs, and I mean the true sense of the word entrepreneur. I'm not talking about entrepreneurs used as a startup as an entrepreneur. No, an entrepreneur is somebody who takes the risk of running a business. So my client who's got 280 staff in the IT consulting field, he's an entrepreneur. In fact, he's an entrepreneur with very, very big balls, really, if you think about it, because he's not just looking after a couple of people, he's looking after the livelihoods of 280 staff, right? And so that's what a real entrepreneur is, somebody who actually takes the risk to run a business and takes that financial risk themselves. So entrepreneurs need to have some frameworks to stop them from going off and chasing the bright, shiny objects. But we don't want to restrict them. We don't want to create corporates. We don't want to create levels of hierarchy. So yeah, EOS is nothing new in there. But I tell you what most people do, and this really pisses me off, is they pick and choose bits of it. Oh, we like that, we'll use a bit of that. Or we like the level 10, but we don't like that part of it, so we'll get rid of that part and we'll change it with something else. Don't fuck with it. It's a system that works when you use it in its entirety, and it's been proven. So it's like, why would you go, here's a system that's been put together, that's been proven through close to 200,000 businesses, but I'd just like to use that little bit there and see if that works. No. And so you get and this again, I'm going off my horse now, but what do you call it? There's people out there who say that yes, I use EOS tools with my clients. So you're using a small part of a proven system, and you go in there and you tell your client you're using the EOS tools. You're not using it properly, and then it fails, and then suddenly EOS is the thing to blame. No, it's not. It's the fact that it wasn't implemented properly. The whole thing is it's easy. It's simple, it's not easy, I should say. It's simple, it's not easy, which is why I hold people's hands through it so that we can put the simple system in place. But I'm going to be the one that makes sure you're running your level 10 meetings properly, you're using all the tools properly. You're not picking and choosing the bits you'd like to do, but you're actually using the proven process to get the results.
It's a tricky thing, eh? It's like, you compare a person that has a coach and who doesn't, and the exponential benefit to their life. Yeah. But coming up to someone like, what do you do? I keep you accountable. Like, how do you how do you land that one? Have you found a way to softly?
No, and we were talking about this before as well. Like, it's actually really, really hard because I think the people that I work with don't necessarily think that they have an issue. So it's either fast-growing businesses that, the entrepreneurial visionary who's growing this business at 5-6 people every month, still thinks everything is absolutely fantastic because they're running everything their way, but the things are breaking down behind them, and the team behind them are kind of going, this isn't working. You've got those that are established businesses that are doing reasonably well. I call them good businesses, but they're not great businesses. And they are they're bringing in good money. They're actually taking out nice salaries. They've got probably 40, 50 staff who are running the business for them. So there's nothing that's really broken there for them. But there's always room for improvement, and there's always room for, what could you do if you had more time? What could you do if you're free to do the things you really love to do? What could you do if you were actually, doing more of what you love as opposed to just doing stuff you don't enjoy? So I have those little minute things that I actually kind of change for them that actually make a massive difference. I encourage them to change their thinking around 10 times thinking rather than 2 times thinking. So you don't get that by doing it yourself. So do I hold them accountable? No, I don't actually go and make sure they're doing their homework or make sure that they're doing their scorecard. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit if they do it or not, because it's not my company. They've got to want to do it. But I do know the results that they'll get from it. So that's where I kind of go, I want to make sure that you actually get the results that you deserve.
That's crazy, yeah. Like, it just makes it, like, it doesn't make sense until you've done it.
No, it doesn't. And this is a challenge for me. Is like, I have worked with so many businesses now, and I sit there and I listen to them afterwards, and they tell you what they've actually achieved, but they weren't really sure they had an issue in the first place. So it's like it's only when you look back and kind of go, it's like always measure backwards thing, right? So 12 months ago, oh my God, that's where we were, and now we're here. Wow, that's been life changing. But they didn't think they had a problem back there. So it's a tough one. I struggle with it, as you know. I kind of go, people go, well, what do you do? And it's like, I do EOS. Well, what does EOS do? How do I describe it? It actually, the only way I can describe it is I go, it gives you a better business, which gives you a better life. But that's not very tangible. What could I say? I could say to you, I do 10 times your thinking. I do, but
like, if you were like arrogant as fuck, what would you say? Like, if you just like unleash, this is what we do. Like,
I'd say this changes your life. Honestly, it changes your life, it changes your relationships, it changes everything. And I'm not just talking about the business, I'm talking about husbands and wife who work together, or fathers and sons who work together. Their relationships transform. Their business transforms. I'd love to say I can. One of the interns at the marketing agency said, "Like, can you tell us how you 10 times a business?" I was like, "Well, or 10x." I know I say 10 times because I'm British, but 10x a business. I can't 10x a business. I can 10x your thinking. I can 10x you to kind of challenge you to go further than where you're at. That's what I can do. But I can't 10x your business. That takes you. That takes hard work. That takes you wanting to have to do it. All I can do is encourage you to think that way.
Well, if you want to 10 times your business.
10 times your business. I like that much better.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you a link.
Leave the Americans the 10x stuff. I'm 10 timesing businesses.
Yeah, that's unique.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a very powerful way to end. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Bob.